Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into a true American classic. It's small, it's copper, and you've probably seen one 1,000 times without ever realizing what it could be worth. That's right. We're talking about the 1981 United States 1-cent coin, the humble penny, but let me tell you right now, this isn't just any ordinary penny. There's something about certain versions of this 1981 cent that make collectors absolutely lose their minds. So grab your coin stash, sit tight, and listen closely. You might be holding onto a hidden fortune. Let's rewind the clock to 1981. Ronald Reagan had just been elected president. MTV was still months away from launching, and the US Mint was busy striking billions of pennies. Sounds like they'd be common, right? Well, yes and no. While the 1981 penny was produced in massive numbers at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, there are some very special details that turn a basic coin into a collector's dream. Now here's where things get interesting. This was one of the last years the US Mint used solid copper for its pennies. Starting in 1982, pennies were switched to a cheaper zinc core with just a thin copper coating. So the 1981 cent is among the final true copper cents, and that already gives it some added historical weight for collectors. But rarity is not just about metal. It's about errors, varieties, and condition, and this is where the magic happens. Some 1981 pennies, especially from the San Francisco Mint, have what's called a Type II proof variety. What makes this special is the sharply defined S mint mark, smaller and more precise than the earlier Type I version. These Type II proofs are rare and were struck with extra care, making them incredibly valuable in top condition. And then, we have the error coins, the real stars of the show. Imagine a penny where the mint mark is doubled, or one that has a die crack running through Lincoln's face, or even a coin where the lettering is off-center or struck through grease causing blurry or missing details. These kinds of mistakes, though unintentional, are gold for collectors. Why? Because they're rare, unique, and nearly impossible to duplicate. No two error coins are exactly alike. Another detail to watch for is the coin's luster and strike quality. If the coin is uncirculated and still has its original mint shine, no scratches, no wear, just that beautiful fresh from the mint glow, its value skyrockets. Combine that with a rare mint error, and suddenly, you're not just holding a penny, you're holding a potential jackpot. Let's not forget about the grading system. Coins that are graded MS 67 or higher, that's mint state 67 out of 70, are exceptionally rare and highly prized. Even without a dramatic error, a perfectly preserved 1981 penny in high grade can command serious attention from collectors. So here's the million-dollar question, or should I say, the $40,000 question: how much could a rare, error-filled, perfectly preserved 1981 1-cent coin be worth? If you've got one of these incredible coins, an uncirculated beauty with a rare error or a proof Type II from the San Francisco Mint, you might just be looking at a value of $40,000. Yes. You heard that right. $40,000. For a single penny. Now that's the kind of change we like to find lying around. Top 2, we're zooming in on the United States 1-cent coin from the year 1967. Now, you might be thinking, how rare could a penny from the 60s really be? After all, millions were made, right? You're absolutely right. But here's the twist: not all 1967 pennies were created equal. And some of them are worth a small fortune. So lean in, coin lovers, because this 1-cent coin could be worth more than a brand new car, maybe even more than your house. Let's explore why. Let's start with a little bit of history. In 1967, the US Mint was under pressure. The country was still recovering from the coin shortage of the early 1960s, and to ease that strain, the Mint suspended the use of mint marks in 1965, 1966, and 1967. That's right, no mint marks were used on coins during those years, which already makes 1967 an unusual time for US coinage. So, any 1967 penny you find will just say, 1967, no little d for Denver, no s for San Francisco, and no p for Philadelphia. That alone catches collectors' attention, but what really makes some 1967 pennies stand out isn't just when or where they were made, it's how they were made. There are a few incredibly rare errors and variations that took place during the minting process, and if you're lucky enough to find one of these, your 1-cent coin could become the crown jewel of your collection. Let's talk about some of those rare features. First up, double die errors. This happens when the coin's design is accidentally stamped more than once, but slightly off. The result? You'll see a noticeable doubling in the lettering, especially around Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date. These double dies are extremely rare and highly sought after. Collectors pay big bucks for a clear, strong double die example. Next, we've got off-center strikes, where the coin isn't perfectly aligned during minting. Some coins show just part of Lincoln's portrait or have missing portions of the design. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more of the date that's still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another valuable mistake is the broad strike error, where the coin expands beyond its normal edges because it wasn't held in place during striking. Combine this with a high-grade condition and you've got a very desirable piece, but here's the real kicker: most people don't realize how much condition affects value. A circulated penny with a rare error might be worth a few $100s. But a 1967 penny with no scratches, no wear, still shining bright like the day it left the mint? That's when you're talking serious money. Coins that are professionally graded as MS 66 or higher, that's mint state 66 and up, are almost impossible to find from this year. The higher the grade, the rarer it is. And when you combine that perfect condition with a rare error like a double die or off-center strike, that's when things really start to heat up. These coins are exciting for collectors because they're not just rare, they're historic, they're beautiful, and they're unexpected. Who would think a simple 1967 penny could be one of the most valuable pieces in your collection? Now, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for. So, how much could a rare 1967 United States 1-cent coin be worth? Well, if you've got one in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a rare mint error, like a bold double die or a dramatic off-center strike, your coin could be worth as much as $61,000. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny. Worth $61,000. That's why it's always worth checking your change. That little coin you've ignored for years might be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Top 3, we're talking about a coin that might be sitting quietly in your collection, in your coin jar, or even in your pocket, but could be worth a small fortune. That's right, we're talking about the 1966 United States 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary piece of copper that has some not-so-ordinary secrets. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll learn exactly what makes this coin so special, and how one of these pennies could be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money. Let's start with the basics. The 1960s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage. In 1966, the U.S. Mint was still dealing with the effects of the coin shortage that had shaken the country just a few years earlier. To help streamline production, the Mint made a big decision. They removed mint marks from all coins struck in 1965, 1966, and 1967. That means no little d for Denver or s for San Francisco. Every 1966 penny, no matter where it was minted, looks the same on the surface, but not all pennies are created equal. That lack of a mint mark is just the beginning of the story. While over 2 billion 1-cent coins were struck in 1966, only a tiny fraction of them were made with unusual errors or preserved in near-perfect condition. And that's where collectors start to pay attention. One of the most exciting things about 1966 pennies is the variety of rare minting errors that can be found. These aren't your average, everyday coins. These are the ones that slipped through the cracks during production and became prized pieces in the collecting world. Let's take a closer look at the types of errors that can make a 1966 penny incredibly valuable. First, we have the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once, but not perfectly aligned. It causes a doubling effect, especially noticeable on the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the numbers in the date. If you see a clear doubling on any of these details, you might be looking at a treasure. Next up, off-center strikes. Imagine Lincoln's head pushed to one side, or parts of the lettering missing entirely. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more rare, and the more valuable the coin becomes. There's also something called a die crack or die break, where a flaw in the minting equipment leaves a raised line or scar across the surface of the coin. These types of errors are fascinating because each one is totally unique, almost like a fingerprint from the mint. And then, of course, we have the ever-important condition of the coin. This is where things really heat up. Most coins that have been in circulation for decades are scratched, worn, or dulled. But if you somehow have a 1966 penny that's been perfectly preserved, we're talking shiny, scratch-free, and graded by professionals as MS66 or higher, then you're sitting on something special. Combine that with a rare minting error, and now you're in serious collector territory. Why do collectors love these coins so much? It's not just about the money, it's about owning a piece of history that tells a story. A coin like this represents a moment in time, a rare mistake that slipped through the strict controls of the US Mint, and a chance for an everyday item to become something truly extraordinary. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for, how much could one of these rare 1966 1-cent coins actually be worth? If you have a coin that's in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a rare minting error like a double die, off-center strike, or die break, it could be valued at an astonishing $64,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $64,000 for a penny. Most people would overlook. So before you toss that old coin aside, take a closer look. What seems like spare change could actually be life-changing. Top 4, we've got something truly exciting for you. We're going to talk about a coin that many people pass by without a second thought, a simple penny. But not just any penny, the 1968 United States 1-cent coin. You might have one sitting in an old jar at home. Maybe it's been in your collection for years, just waiting for the right moment. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the missing piece to a very valuable puzzle. So don't blink, because this isn't just a coin. It's a chance to uncover something rare, valuable, and absolutely fascinating. Let's set the stage. It's 1968. The world is changing fast. The Vietnam War is at its peak, civil rights movements are sweeping the nation, and America is preparing to send men to the moon. In the middle of all this, the US Mint is producing coins for a growing economy, millions of them every day. The 1968 penny was struck at 3 different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You'll know which is which by looking for the small mint mark letter just beneath the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and no letter at all means it came from Philadelphia. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting. The San Francisco Mint produced both regular and proof coins that year, and some of those proofs are among the finest ever made. But even more exciting are the mistakes, minting errors, that slip through unnoticed and now drive collectors wild. Let's break down what makes the 1968 penny so valuable under the right conditions. First up, one of the most sought-after features is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck with a die that has a doubled image, causing letters or numbers, like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the 1968 date, to appear with a shadow or doubling effect. These are rare, and when visible, they skyrocket the coin's value. Then we have the off-center strike, a dramatic misalignment during minting that causes part of the design to be missing or shifted. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date, the more rare and collectible it becomes. Another fascinating error is the repunched mint mark, often found on 1968's pennies. That's when the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, in slightly different positions. These can be subtle, but they're gold in the eyes of seasoned collectors. And let's not forget about the proof coins from San Francisco. These were made with extra care, intended for collectors from the beginning. But sometimes even proof coins have flaws, and those rare imperfections make them even more desirable. Of course, all of this leads us to one of the most important factors, condition. Coins that are uncirculated, with no wear, original shine, and crisp details, especially if they're graded MS65, MS66, or higher, are always more valuable. If you've got a coin like that, especially one with a rare error? You're in elite territory. Now, why do collectors chase after coins like the 1968 penny? It's the thrill of the hunt, the connection to history, and the chance of turning a common coin into an extraordinary find. Every detail tells a story, from the mint mark to the tiniest error, and collectors are always eager to own a piece of that story. So now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1968 United States 1-cent coin with a rare minting error, and it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, possibly with a visible double die or a significant off-center strike, its value could reach an incredible $60,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth $60,000, and that's why we say, always check your change. Because the next time you're about to toss a penny aside, it might just be the most valuable coin you've ever held. Top 5. This episode is going to open your eyes to the incredible secrets that might be hiding right in your pocket change. We're diving deep into one of the most surprising coins from the 1970s, the United States 1-cent coin from 1973. Now, we know what you might be thinking. It's just a penny, right? It's copper, it's old, and there are probably millions of them out there. And you're right, in part. But here's the truth, not every 1973 penny is the same. Some of them carry secrets that make collectors' hearts race. Some of them are so rare and unusual, they're worth thousands, and one could even be worth a small fortune. So listen closely, because by the end of this video, you'll find out exactly what to look for, and why some 1973 pennies are anything but ordinary. Let's set the scene. The year is 1973. America is in the middle of major political and cultural change. The Vietnam War is coming to a close, the Watergate scandal is beginning to unfold, and the economy is on shaky ground. During this turbulent time, the U.S. Mint continued its work, striking billions of coins for daily use, including over 5 billion 1-cent coins. That's right, over 5 billion 1973 pennies were produced between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with Philadelphia coins having no mint mark, and Denver coins marked with a small d under the date. The San Francisco Mint also produced a smaller number of proof coins, made especially for collectors. With so many minted, how could any of these coins be valuable? Well, here's where things get interesting. Despite the high mintage, several rare errors and unique varieties slipped through the cracks at the mint, turning a few lucky coins into collector gold. One of the most exciting, and valuable, errors to look for is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die used to stamp the coin's design shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubling effect. It's most often noticeable on the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date, 1973. This kind of doubling isn't just a small detail. When it's bold and clear, collectors will pay serious money for it. Another major rarity is the off-center strike. These are coins that were misaligned during minting, causing the design to appear shifted, with part of the coin blank or distorted. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date, the more valuable it becomes. Then there's the broad strike error, where the coin wasn't properly held in the retaining collar during the minting process, allowing it to spread wider than usual. Combine that with a clean, sharp strike, and it can be worth far more than a regular penny. But wait, there's more. Some 1973 pennies from the San Francisco Mint, especially the proof coins, have shown signs of being struck with a repunched mint mark, or RPM. That's when the S mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. These are hard to spot with the naked eye, but under magnification, they reveal a fascinating flaw, and one that collectors love. Of course, as with any coin, condition is king. A 1973 penny that's been handled for decades, scratched up, and worn down? Probably not worth much. But if you have a coin in mint state condition, especially one graded MS 65 or higher, its value instantly jumps. And when you add a rare error into the mix, that's when things get truly exciting. So why do collectors chase coins like the 1973 penny? It's not just about money, it's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of owning something rare, and the deep connection to American history. Every minting error tells a story. Every rare coin represents a moment where perfection slipped just enough to create something extraordinary. Now, here comes the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1973 United States 1-cent coin with a rare error, like a double die, an off-center strike, or a repunched mint mark, and it's in stunning, uncirculated condition, its value could reach as much as $59,000. Yes, you heard that right. One small penny, worth $59,000. So before you toss that old coin aside, take a second look. You could be holding something that collectors all over the world are searching for. Top 6, we're taking a closer look at a coin from a year that holds special meaning for millions of Americans, the 1976 United States 1-cent coin. Now, 1976 was no ordinary year. It marked the United States bicentennial, 200 years of American independence. There were parades, celebrations, and fireworks all over the country. It was a year full of pride, history, and patriotism. But here's something not everyone knows: even those special bicentennial designs were made for quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins, the humble penny kept its classic Lincoln design. That's right, no big design changes. But don't let that fool you, some 1976 pennies are far from ordinary. In fact, if you have the right one, you could be holding a small piece of history that's worth far more than just 1 cent. Let's talk about what makes the 1976 penny so intriguing. First off, there were 3 main types of 1-cent coins minted in 1976, those from Philadelphia, which carry no mint mark, Denver, with a small D under the date, and a limited number from San Francisco, which mostly produced proof coins for collectors. While billions of these coins were produced, a very small number stand out, and that's where things get exciting. So, what makes certain 1976 pennies valuable? 2 main things: minting errors and exceptional condition. Let's start with the errors, because that's where collectors go wild. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1976 penny is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin is struck more than once with a slightly misaligned die, causing noticeable doubling on the lettering or date. Look closely at Liberty, In God We Trust, or the numbers in 1976. If you see what looks like shadows or doubled letters, that's no trick of the eye, you might be looking at a double die error, and those are rare and valuable. Another error that gets collectors excited is the off-center strike. That's when the coin wasn't properly centered during the minting process, and part of the design ends up missing or shifted. If the date is still visible and the strike is significantly off-center, say 40% or more, you've got something special. Then there's the die break, or what collectors sometimes call a cud. This is when a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob or crack on the coin's surface. Every die break is unique, like a fingerprint, and the more dramatic it looks, the more collectors want it. You might also find a brockage error, where one coin sticks to the die and leaves a mirror-like impression on the next one struck. These are extremely rare, especially in pennies from the 1970s. And of course, there are proof errors from the San Francisco Mint. Yes, even proof coins, which are meant to be flawless, can occasionally have a flaw that makes them one of a kind. Imagine a mirror-like proof penny with a doubled mint mark or a missing detail. That's a collector's dream, but let's not forget about condition. Even a standard 1976 penny, if kept in perfect, uncirculated condition, can carry a premium, especially if it's been graded MS-65 or higher by a professional grading service. Combine that level of preservation with a rare minting error. Now we're talking serious value. So why does this matter so much to collectors? Because coins like the 1976 penny are a reminder that history is hiding in plain sight. They represent moments of imperfection that slipped through one of the most controlled manufacturing processes in the world. They tell stories of the machines, the mint workers, the quirks of production, and they give collectors something truly rare to chase. Now, here comes the part you've all been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1976 United States 1-cent coin with a rare error, such as a strong double die, a dramatic off-center strike, or a unique die break, and it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, then that little copper coin could be worth up to $56,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth $56,000. So next time you're sorting through your coins, take a moment to check those 1976 pennies. Because the next big treasure might just be hiding in your change. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next coin that could change your life. And let us know in the comments, have you ever found a rare penny? Top 7. And this last is all about one of the most talked about, misunderstood, and surprisingly valuable coins in American change, the 1982 United States 1-cent coin. Now, before you dismiss it as just another old penny, let me stop you right there, because the 1982 penny is no ordinary coin. In fact, this little copper coin tells a story of change. Literally, stick around, because we're going to talk about the unusual history behind this coin, the rare varieties that make it worth far more than face value, and how one of these common-looking cents could turn into a collector's dream. Let's take a step back. The year is 1982. Michael Jackson's Thriller tops the charts, personal computers are starting to enter homes, and inflation is hitting the US economy hard. Copper prices are rising, so much so, that it was costing the US Mint more to make a penny than the penny was even worth. That's when the Mint made a major decision. Midway through 1982, they changed the composition of the penny. Instead of solid copper, they started making them out of zinc with a thin copper coating. Lighter, cheaper, and more efficient to produce. Here's where it gets fascinating, because the change happened in the middle of the year. Both copper and zinc pennies were produced in 1982. And not just that, there were multiple varieties released, with 7 different types of 1982 pennies in total. Let's break them down. There were large date and small date varieties. And each of those could be either copper or zinc. Plus, they were minted at both the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, with a D. So how can you tell the difference? Well, copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while the zinc ones weigh around 2.5 grams. That small difference in weight could make a big difference in value. If you've got a scale that measures in grams, it's worth weighing your 1982 pennies. You might find a surprise. Now, among these varieties, there's one that stands above the rest, the 1982 D small date copper penny. Why? Because officially, Denver was only supposed to produce small date zinc pennies. So if you find a 1982 D penny with a small date and copper composition, you may be holding a coin that shouldn't exist. Only a few of these rare coins have been confirmed to exist, and collectors are still on the hunt for more. These are extremely rare, and their discovery has created a buzz in the coin collecting world ever since. But it's not just about composition. 1982 pennies can also have minting errors, and these can add even more value. You might find a double die error, where letters or numbers appear doubled, especially noticeable on Liberty or the date. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is visibly misaligned, or die cracks, which appear as raised lines or blobs caused by worn-out equipment at the mint. Even more fascinating, some collectors have found 1982 pennies with incomplete copper coating, revealing parts of the zinc core underneath. These clad layer errors are not only eye-catching, they're rare, and as always, condition matters. A rare variety is valuable, but a rare variety in mint state condition, graded MS 65 or higher, can multiply in value significantly. So why do collectors get so excited about the 1982 penny? Because it represents a turning point in US coinage. It's a year full of transition, experimentation, and unintended surprises. It's a puzzle: 7 varieties, 2 metals, multiple mints, and one extremely rare combination. It's a mystery in your coin jar just waiting to be solved. Now, if you're lucky enough to have one of those rare 1982 D small date copper pennies, especially in uncirculated condition, you might be sitting on a coin that's worth as much as $47,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $47,000, for a penny. So before you toss that 1982 cent aside, check the date, weigh it carefully, look for any doubling or strange features, and treat it like the potential treasure it might be. If you loved learning about this fascinating coin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more rare coin discoveries, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and remember, even the smallest coin can hold a big story, and sometimes, a fortune. Keep collecting, keep searching, and happy hunting.